Alright guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if it's your first time here, and welcome to another episode of the It Ends With Us Drama Explained. I know it's been a while since I uploaded one of these, and that's because it's been hectic, guys. I went to Cape Town for my show, and then I came back, and I'm busy still with the studio, which as you can see is making progress. And I'm headed to Durban in a week, so it's been busy, exciting times. But there's been so many developments, and we are quite behind, so we need to catch up on this business. What I find fascinating is that there's still people who is siding with Blake Lively. It makes zero sense to me, but that's why I'm making this series, so that I can go through all of the details, so that you don't have to just rely on mainstream media opskrifte. You know what I'm saying? Because some people find their news just by reading the headings of some publications on the internet, and they make up their own conclusions based on zero facts. So that's why I'm doing this series. So we are going to pick up where we ended off last time, which was, if you guys will remember, we were speaking about Blake Lively saying that Baldoni attacked her physical appearance, when that is not at all the situation. Everyone was talking about the outfit choices, and at this point no one knew that she chose her own outfits. So people were criticizing the outfit choices, and him as a director went to Lively and said, listen, we need to talk about your wardrobe. As a director, and she took it personally. So we are going to go through the rest of the complaint as far as we can. I'm going to take off my shoes, and I'm going to crisscross applesauce, because why not? Let's jump in, shall we? As another example, early in the pre-production stage, Lively sent Baldoni a long text describing how directors never permitted her to write scenes for the movie she acted in, nor gave her writing credits, even making her hand scribble her suggestions for lines, so that they could not be traced to her. Lively boasted that she had even written for her husband's movies. Then Lively asked if she could take a pass at writing the rooftop scene of It Ends With Us, in which the characters Ryle and Lily first meet. This pivotal scene, much beloved by book fans, was critical for setting the tone of the movie, so Baldoni was reluctant to allow an actor, rather than a union screenwriter, to rewrite this key scene. But Baldoni felt the need to allow Lively to rewrite the scene and agreed to take a look at what she put together. The draft of the rooftop scene that Lively sent Baldoni dramatically differed from what had been written originally. Baldoni was hesitant about many of the changes, but thanked Lively for her passion and diplomatically told her that the scene would likely end up being somewhere between the original version and Lively's version. Seemingly stunned by Baldoni's exceedingly mild resistance, Lively did not respond and went silent for multiple days. Later, she confirmed in a text message below that Baldoni's response, of course, did not feel great for me. Or another mega celebrity friend and Ryan Reynolds. To have my passion praised instead of my specific contribution, Lively was referring to an earlier meeting where Lively summoned Baldoni to her New York penthouse, where Baldoni was greeted by Ryan Reynolds, who launched into an enthusiastic praise for Lively's version of the scene. Hours later, as the meeting was ending, a famous and famously close friend of Ryan Reynolds and Lively walked into the room and similarly began praising Lively's script. Baldoni understood the subtext. He needed to comply with Lively's direction for the script. Now, this mega celebrity friend is, of course, Taylor Swift. Later, Baldoni felt obliged to text Lively and say that he had liked her pages and hadn't needed Reynolds and her mega celebrity friend to pressure him. Lively responded that the two were her dragons. She went on to say, they, Lively went on to say, they also know I'm not always good at making sure I'm seen and utilized for fear of threatening egos or fear of affecting the ease of the process. They don't give a shit about that. And because of that, everyone listens to them with immense respect and enthusiasm. So I guess I have to stop worrying about people liking me. I don't know emoji. The message could not have been clearer. Baldoni was not just dealing with Lively, he was also facing Lively's dragons, two of the most influential and wealthy celebrities in the world, who were not afraid to make things very difficult for him. Guys, this is just an excerpt of a very, very long text message that she sent to Baldoni, saying that, Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift are her dragons. I'm going to see if I can read the entire thing. So I think they wanted you and me to see how they felt about the work, because they've been up by my side for far too many experiences where I've been overlooked. I spoke to you about this when we first met. They've watched me handwrite scripts because the director is too afraid to send me the FDX file. Yet, he scans and has someone hand-typed the 120 pages of my pencil rewrites. They've watched me be hired as a writer and paid a significant fee for it on the conditions that I never asked for credit, which I didn't give a shit about. It kind of sounds like you give a shit, Blake. It's more the principle of the dynamics at play. I've watched the other side of it too, where I'm told at signing that I'm wanted as a true collaborator, but once we get to work, I'm really just wanted as a yes man's audience and an actor. That's what you're hired for, Blake. You guys saw that clip where she's like, in the interview, I'd be like, yes, I'm just going to be an actress. But then I take over. Both Ryan and Blank, in this lawsuit, Taylor's name is still blocked out. Both Ryan and Blank have established themselves as absolute titans as writers and storytellers outside of their primary gig, just singing or acting or just directing. I'm so lucky to have them as creative barometers. But also, I have them as the people who prop me up and make sure I'm seen for all I can do and offer. Because they know firsthand all I contribute. They also know that I'm not always as good as making sure I'm seen and utilized for fear of threatening egos or fear of affecting the ease of the process. They don't give a shit about that. And because of that, everyone listens to them with immense respect and enthusiasm. So I guess I have to stop worrying about them liking me. Emoji. And if you ever get around to watching Game of Thrones, you'll appreciate that I am Khaleesi. Who talks like this? And like her, I happen to have a few dragons, for better or worse, but usually for better, because my dragons also protect those I am fighting for. So really, we all benefit from these gorgeous monsters of mine. You will too, I can promise you that. Isn't this insane? Isn't this insane? This to me shows the narcissism. I know that the word narcissist and narcissism gets thrown around a lot. And I am not saying that she or Ryan Reynolds are narcissists. I'm not a therapist. I can't diagnose people. What I'm saying is they both do show narcissistic qualities. I mean, who talks like that? And what she's basically saying is go along because my dragons would benefit you if you go along. But if you don't, my dragons might turn on you. That is what I'm getting from it. Difficult proved to be a gross understatement. Though Baldoni initially invited Lively to make changes to the script, Lively began altering the script daily. The frequency of Lively's revisions alarmed the producer, director, and studio, who anticipated that her interference would persist every day of the shoot and disrupt the carefully planned production schedule. Each shooting day was intricately scheduled long in advance, and Lively's constant changes placed significant stress on the production crew, not to mention financial strain to Wayfarer. Then there's a text message between one of the producers and Jamie Heath, where the producer says, "Are you listening to this? She's fixing the script. I think Blank's advice was actually wrong. Blake is now directing the movie. This is bad." Jamie Heath comes back and says, "I'm listening. Talking through it is better than not. Seeing what's possible, as long as any decision is done with approval." The producer says, "Not for something that has already intimately been planned. This will be every day of the shoot." Jamie said, "I know. I'm not sure what can be done honestly at this point in terms of Blank out and Blake." So here's a discussion, like they are so frustrated, like she's just taking over, making changes, doing whatever she wants. And they are just like, what can be done? More than a year later, during a red carpet interview at the New York film premiere, Lively stated, "The iconic rooftop scene, my husband actually wrote it. Nobody knows that, but you now." This startling revelation directly contradicted Lively's previous insistence that she had written the scene, and certainly cast Reynolds' high praise for the rewritten scene in a different light. The film's credited screenwriter, when asked about the claim that Reynolds had written the scene, graciously responded, "So I'm being told that Ryan wrote that. Then great, how wonderful." She went on to acknowledge there was a few little flourishes that I did not write. And if those flourishes came from Ryan, I think it's wonderful. That was also the first time that the Wayfarer parties learned that Reynolds, who had no formal role whatsoever in the film production, had made unauthorized changes to the script in secret. Baldoni, equally blindsided by the news, which he discovered in real time during a recorded interview with Access Hollywood, reacted by also praising Reynolds so as not to harm Lively Reynolds for the film. Can we just talk about how unhinged this is? Like, this is a massive deal. And this shows to me the manipulation, how far this woman would go, the gaslighting. Because she went through that whole spiel of not being appreciated for her work and having to write with pencil so that no one knows that it was her and not being credited for her writing, blah, blah, blah. And I'm so hurt. I'm hurt that you praised me for my enthusiasm instead of my immense talent. And then Baldoni was summoned to her apartment and Taylor Swift and Ryan Reynolds went on about how great her writing is. Just to find out that Ryan Reynolds wrote it. Isn't that insanity? And if you wait long enough, Blake will always tell on herself. So, can you imagine the position the screenwriter was in when asked this? And she's like, she thought they were, like making up some stuff or, what's the word? While doing the scene because it went so far off track of what it what was originally written. And everyone thought that that was Blake Lively's changes and didn't want to upset her because everything upsets her. And then finding out that Ryan Reynolds actually wrote it. So all of that was just bullshit. It's insanity to me. I wanted to make another point, but now I can't remember what it was. It'll come to me probably. Lively's remarks about Reynolds' purported contribution to the script raised eyebrows sky high at Sony, who told Wayfarer that they certainly needed some clarity on public comments made about Ryan Reynolds potentially contributing writing services for the rooftop scene. And then there's emails attached where they were having this discussion, like, what? We saw what she said on the red carpet. What? Still during the pre-production phase, Lively and Reynolds raised entirely false allegations of fat-shaming against Baldoni, an accusation that, as evidence will show, was categorically false. Baldoni had been introduced to trainer Don, who became Baldoni's personal trainer, by Lively. Don directed Baldoni's preparation for the film role, including his nutrition and exercise, making special accommodations for Baldoni's back injury. Baldoni even paid to receive Don's meal delivery services. Then there's a text message attached between Baldoni and the trainer. On April 22nd, 2023, Baldoni privately reached out to Don, his personal trainer, to ask what Lively weighed so that he could train his back muscles in preparation for a lift scene. This was important to avoid injury, not only to Baldoni, who suffered from lifelong back injuries, multiple bulging discs, and chronic pain, but also to Lively if the lift could not be completed successfully and safely. Notwithstanding Lively's recent attempts to deny the existence of such a scene, it was only next at the insistence after being planned and rehearsed. On the 25th of April, Lively summoned Baldoni to her penthouse, reportedly to discuss the script. However, he was met with an angry Reynolds, who screamed at Baldoni and accused him of fat-shaming his wife. How dare you fucking ask my wife about her weight? What's wrong with you? The confrontation by Reynolds and Lively was so aggressive that Baldoni felt he had no choice but to offer repeated and completely unwarranted apologies for what was a good faith and reasonable question to ask of his trainer. Reynolds demanded that Baldoni remove the scene entirely. Lively refused to perform the lift scene at the end even after it was rehearsed with a stunt double. In her own complaint, Lively flat out lies about the absence of the scene by claiming that the scene wasn't even in the film. The only reason the scene wasn't in the film is because Lively and Reynolds ensured that it was taken out of the film. Accommodating Lively, Baldoni rewrote the scene with Lively, despite the fact that for creative reasons, the scene was important to him as a storyteller and a director. Now, again, how can you work in a creative environment with someone like this? He went to his own personal trainer. Not in front of anybody, not making a big scene. He went to his own personal trainer and said, I need to do a lift scene. I have issues with my back, as you know. What does Blake Lively weigh so that I can train to lift her safely? And he was summoned. And they have the gall. She has the gall to pretend like she didn't have the power in this situation. He was her boss, is the claims that she's making. She didn't feel like she could stand up for herself. Excuse me. They summoned her boss to her apartment and demanded that a scene be taken out of the movie, sweared at him, yelled at him, but she wants to claim that she didn't have the power. She and Ryan Reynolds didn't have the power. The more I learn about these people, I know I've said it before, but the more I learn about them, the more I don't know how I didn't see it sooner. They are awful, awful human beings. And then I get people in my comment section accusing me of being internalized misogyny, being against women. I'm not. I don't understand how anyone who has the facts can still be, on her side and Reynolds' side. I'm going to end it off here, but I'm going to try and upload more regularly so that we can get through the complaint. And after that, we can go into all of the things that happened since everything was filed. I don't even know where to start. A lot happened. A lot. I'm going to try and figure out how I'm going to, relay everything that happened. But for now, we'll end off here. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to subscribe and like the video. It helps a lot. Comment down below what your thoughts are. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for coming. All right. Bye-bye. Love you, like.